In the subject of engineering thermodynamics, today we are going to see how to apply first law of thermodynamics to steady flow process. So let's begin. So first we will see what is a steady flow process. So any process, any open process where mass is transferred through the system. That means it having a intake as well as outlet. So mass is inducted through intake, it will pass through the system and exhausted through outlet. But there is a continued flow. So continued displacement of fluid or matter is there. So that is called open system. When we said that open system or flow system is a steady flow process, is a steady flow system, when the displacement of fluid or the flow of fluid, mass flow rate, or you can say a volume flow rate, is constant with respect to time. Remember, there are number of properties, and it might be confuse you that steady flow process is the process where displacement of mass or fluid is constant with respect to pressure, temperature, volume, or time. So it is with respect to time. It means if I at a morning if I measure the flow rate, at afternoon I measure the flow rate, or at evening I measure the flow rate. So there is a different times, but the flow rate remains same. That means with respect to time there is no change in flow rate. So such system we can say a steady flow. Now for this we have to assume some assumptions. So these are the basic 5 assumptions we assume for any steady flow process. One is the mass flow through the system remain constant. It means with time there will be no increase or decrease of fluid flow supply. So supply remains same, constant. So mass flow rate through the system remain constant. Even though from the delivery wall or exhaust wall, mass deliver will remain constant. So throughout the system, the flow of mass maintain constant. That is the one assumption. Then fluid is uniform in composition. Might be possible in summer days. It happen that water flow. So water get evaporated, and in a channel of that water flow, there is a maximum amount of liquid form and some amount of vapor form. But here we are assuming that whenever there is a fluid flow, so fluid flow having a uniform composition. If there is a gas, so gas remain as a gas throughout the flow. It is not going to condense. If it is a liquid, so it will remain a liquid only, not a composition of liquid and vapors. If it is a semi-solid fluid, so it is a semi-solid fluid throughout the system flow. Next assumption is the only interaction between the system and the surrounding are work and heat transfer. So the energy interact across the boundary of this system are only the work or heat. The state of fluid at any point remain constant with time. That means if it is a 10-meter long pipeline is there, at the beginning you are measuring the property of that liquid. At middle section you are measuring the property of liquid. At end section you are measuring the property of liquid. So with respect to time, it remains constant at any particular point. It might be possible at the beginning and the middle section having little bit change in property, but at the middle section with respect to time all property remain constant. At beginning or at the end all property remains same. So state of fluid at any particular point remain constant with respect to time. It might be possible it will vary from one point to second point, but at any particular point it remain constant. That is also assumed. So and the last assumption is in the analysis only potential, kinetic and flow energy are considered. So these kind of energy are only considered. Other energies are not considered here. Now, steady flow energy equation, very important topic. It is going to ask in many times in university exam. What is steady flow energy equation? How we are going to apply? So it is in short called as SFEE, steady flow energy equation. Suppose there is one open system, and this open system having a work interaction and heat interaction. So heat is entering, that amount is Q, and work is obtained at outlet, that amount is W. So work and heat can cross the boundary of this system. This system we mark at inlet, that is section 1.1, where we found that it having some particular pressure, it having some particular area, velocity, density, and it having particular height. As at the beginning we said, we are just considering only potential energy, kinetic energy, and flow energy. So there is a height difference, so we can say there is a potential energy. Height at intake and height at outlet are different, so we can say there are different potential energy at intake and outlet. There are different property in terms of velocity, pressure, so we can say there is different kinetic energy at inlet and outlet. Flow of liquid is flowing through this system. Mass is inducted in and exhausted out. That means there is displacement of fluid. So we can say there is a flow work. So this is the one system, open system, where mass can transfer and energy can transfer across the boundary. Now we will see how to reach to our steady flow energy equation. So this is our system. Now applying the energy balance at the two section for unit mass. Suppose we are assuming that mass flow rate is 1 kg. 1 kg per minute, 1 kg per second, whatever be the. But it is unit mass flow rate. It is not simply a mass. If it is simply a mass, so we can say mass is 1 kg. But when we are talking, it is a mass flow rate. That means it is related with the time. So 1 kg per second, suppose this is the mass flow rate, or 1 kg per minute is the mass flow rate. So that is called unit mass flow rate. Now applying energy balance. So how we can apply energy balance? Our first law says that energy neither be created nor destroyed. It is always balanced. Whatever be the summation of all work is always equals to summation of all heat. So same we are going to apply here. So summation of all work heat at the entry must be equal to summation of all work heat at the exit. So heat supplied Q plus total energy at 1, section 1, that is inlet. Then work output W plus total energy at output, that is section 2. Now heat supplied is Q, and suppose total energy at intake is E1. Why small e1? Because we are considering mass flow rate as a unit. If there is a particular mass, suppose 10 kg or 10.5 kg, then we will take a notation as capital E. But as it is for per unit mass flow rate, so small e1. So 1 is for intake and 2 is for outlet. This must be equal to work done plus energy at outlet, total energy at outlet. Now in the previous videos, we found that when it is an open system, so we have to consider internal energy, flow energy, kinetic energy, and potential energy as a total energy. Why flow energy? Because mass is actually flowing through the system. If it is a closed system, then flow energy will not be there. In that case, there will be internal energy, kinetic energy, and potential energy only. So we will put this notation for intake. and for outlet. So for per unit mass, Q is there. So heat supplied is there. This Q, I just replace here. So I just rearrange it. Work is there as it is. Now I am elaborating the total energy. So it is at intake. So U1, internal energy per unit mass flow rate at intake. C1 square upon 2. That means it is just nothing but a kinetic energy, half mv square. But we are talking about unit mass flow rate. So it is half c square. And what is this? C is nothing but a velocity. Velocity at intake. Plus Z1g. Actually, it is mzg or mhg. Z or h is denoted for height. But in our case, we denoted h for enthalpy. We denoted V for volume. So here we are denoting C for velocity. So just for the sake of avoiding a confusion, so we are replacing H. So potential energy at intake will be mgh, which is replaced by mzg per unit mass. So it is only zg at intake. Flow work P1 V1. Then at outlet, internal energy U2, kinetic energy C2 square upon 2, potential energy Z2G, and flow work is P2V2. Now, this whole equation, balance equation, is called as a steady flow energy equation. Whenever it is asked to apply a steady flow energy equation, so we have to apply this whole equation to the system. Now imagine, suppose I am applying this steady flow energy equation to any, suppose it is a condenser. So you know that what is the function of condenser? Condenser is utilized only to extract the heat from steam, so that whatever be the exhausted steam is there, it get condensed. That means there is no work done. There is only heat transfer. So we supply cooling water. It circulate around your steam pipes. It extract the heat from steam, and your steam get cooled down, liquefied. That is, we can say a condensate. Your cooling water get warmer. It is moving out through outlet. That means in a whole condenser, cooling water get heated and your steam get condensed. That means there is only heat interaction, but work is zero. So when I am going to apply this steady flow energy equation to condenser, that time I will say W is 0. So only remaining part will be there. If I am saying condenser having inlet and outlet at the same level, if it is at same level, that means Z2 and Z1 is same. That means these two terms get cancelled. So potential energy difference will be 0. If I am saying there is the same velocity at inlet and outlet, so these two terms get cancelled. In that case, I can say change in kinetic energy at inlet and outlet is 0. If there is no change in internal energy, that time U1 and U2 get cancelled, I can say change in internal energy is 0. If in any appliance or equipment where heat transfer is 0, so I can say Q is 0. So we have to apply this steady flow energy equation to any equipment, and according to its working, its property, we have to simplify this equation for particular instrument. This is generalized steady flow energy equation. Now suppose I am going to simplify this steady flow, generalized steady flow energy equation to this system, whatever the system we are consider here. So we can simplify this. So our system is this. We know steady flow generalized equation form is this one, complete form. Now here I am just rearranging that is terms internal energy and flow work. So I am just taking in a one bracket internal energy plus flow work P1 V1. Here also internal energy plus flow work. We know that what is mean of internal energy plus flow work. It is nothing but a enthalpy. Enthalpy at inlet, enthalpy at outlet. Now suppose there is no height difference or very negligible height difference. So we can neglect potential energy. Change in potential energy is negligible. That time we can say Z1 and Z2 are almost equal. If it is almost equal, so we can neglect this. If it is neglecting this term, so our equation become without this potential energy term. So equation will be simplified. H1 plus kinetic energy plus heat supplied is equal to H2 enthalpy at outlet kinetic energy plus work done. Now imagine this might be possible that at intake there is a velocity of 100 meter per second and at outlet there is a velocity of 1 meter per second. Suppose, for just assume it. So can we say that at intake 100 meter per second and outlet 1 meter per second. So at outlet there is very negligible kinetic energy because lot of difference is there. So we can neglect outlet kinetic energy. In that case, we can simplify this equation to more simplified version, that is H1 kinetic energy at intake, because there is a lot of velocity. So kinetic energy we have to consider at intake plus heat supply is equals to enthalpy, but kinetic energy at outlet is very, very less. So we can neglect it. So in that case, this term will be removed. So it will be equal to H2 plus work only. So this way we can simplify our generalized steady flow energy equation and we can apply to any device. That is called the application of steady flow energy equation. And this steady flow energy equation ultimately is nothing but a version of your first law of thermodynamics. So many times it is called as application of first law of thermodynamics to open system or flow system. Flow system, that means mass is flowing through the system. Now we will see few examples. Listen very carefully because in second lecture we are going to take some quiz where you have to answer this, and all the answers are within this explanation only. Now imagine there is one boiler. What is the function of boiler? Boiler having a one closed vessel. We are supplying heat by burning of any fuel. If it is a solid fuel, so coal or wood will be there. If it is a liquid fuel, so we boiler liquid fuels, LNG, gaseous fuels we can use. So any kind of fuel we have to burn. We are burning it, that means we are adding the heat. So we are supplying heat to the boiler. Then what happened to this heat? Heat is supplied to boiler water. Water get boiled and steam is generated. Now whether this generated steam is instantly shifted to any prime mover? No. We have to wait till this steam gain its energy, pressure energy. When it gain particular pressure energy, then we allow steam to move out. Now here in boiler, we come to know that heat is crossing the boundary. This dotted line, suppose a system boundary. So heat is adding to the system. Then water is adding to the system. And your steam is moving out from the system. That means mass is flowing in and out. Heat is crossing the system. And we have to apply our steady flow energy equation to this boiler. Whether there is any work done is possible in boiler. Is there any piston movement? Any volume change? No. So that means in boiler there is no work done. So now we are going to apply our steady flow energy equation, or we can say applying a first law of thermodynamics to this flow process boiler. So our generalized steady flow energy equation, the complete form. Now here we have to reduce this and make it most simplified version for the boiler, and it depends on your assumptions. Suppose we are saying there is zero work done. Yes, of course, because there is no piston movement, there is no work done. It is simply a heat transfer. Burning fuel, transfer heat to the water, water get evaporated, boiled, steam is generated, that high pressure, high temperature steam is exhausted through outlet and used for any prime mover. So there is no work done inside the boiler. That steam might be used to run the steam engine. There we can say steam is used for work done. But for the boiler itself, inside the boiler, there is zero work done. So we can say W is zero. Now suppose there is a not appreciable height difference between water intake and steam exhaust, or it may be at the same height level, intake and exhaust. So steam outlet pipes and water inlet pipe having the same height, or it is just negligible height difference. So we can say Z1 is equal to Z2. So change in Z is zero. If there is no datum height difference, that means change in potential energy is zero. So if Z1 and Z2 are same, so we can say this potential energy term will be removed out. Next, is there any really a kinetic energy difference? So if it depends on you. Suppose some students saying yes, water flow rate is very less, that is velocity of water flowing into the boiler having a less velocity, but steam remove out from the boiler having a higher velocity. So in that case we can say that there is a kinetic energy changes. So both the terms remain as it is. So we can say C1 square upon 2 and C2 square upon 2. But some students saying, no sir, there is not a lot of difference in kinetic energy. So there is a difference in pressure, steam having a higher pressure, but velocity wise, there is no appreciable difference in water flow in and steam going out. So I am going to neglect the change in kinetic energy. So that is also acceptable. So some student might be possible they neglecting kinetic energy. If they neglecting kinetic energy, then these two terms will be removed. Mass flow rate is there. That means we can't say that there is no mass flow rate. So now the last form remains, that is there is an internal energy because heat is added. So definitely internal energy going to change. Mass is flowing in and out. That means there is a flow work or flow energy is there. Heat is added. So Q is there. At outlet, change in energy of system will be different. Flow rate, flow energy will be different. But there is no work. So our simplified version is this one. Even though anyone can again simplify this, I don't want to put the internal energy and flow energy. I just want to put in terms of enthalpy. So my final form is H1. This complete term can be replaced by H1 plus Q is equal to H2. Now external, many times external asking this. In boiler, heat is added. Then what happened to that heat? So Q amount is the heat added. So if I am going to shift this H1 on second side, so my equation will become Q is equals to H2 minus H1. What it means? Enthalpy at intake is less, enthalpy at outlet is higher. So that it is H2 minus H1 and it is a positive amount of Q. So in other words, it is said that whatever be the heat added to the boiler, it is utilized to rise in enthalpy. So we can say In case of boiler, heat added is utilized to rise in its enthalpy. So enthalpy will be increased. So boiler, we provide a heat, so enthalpy get increased. Now tell me, in condenser, we are not providing heat, we are extracting heat from steam. So at the intake, steam having a higher enthalpy, so H1 is higher. When it pass through a condenser, its heat is extracted, so outlet we get a steam with a lesser enthalpy. So we can say that in condenser, heat extracted, due to this there is a drop in enthalpy. So at inlet there is higher enthalpy of steam, but when heat is extracted, enthalpy get reduced. Another form, same question asked to 3 or 4 students in a row. Okay, tell me another justification for this or another meaning of this. So you can say that change in enthalpy is there if heat is added. That means heat is, for boiler, heat is completely working for change in enthalpy only. It is not going to work for any kind of external work or any kind of kinetic energy or any kind of potential energy. It is completely utilized only for the change in enthalpy. So you can simplify this to any extent. So this is our steady flow energy equation for boiler. This is our simplest form. Is there any doubt? Because I am going to ask you some equipment where you have to apply this and tell me what is your simplified version. Okay, next. Throttling process. You know what is a throttling process? Whenever we want to decrease the pressure of any fluid, so we allow it to pass through a very restricted area or very small diameter pipeline. So as there is a high pressure and when it is passing through a very small restricted zone, so it has to overcome that friction because area is very narrow. And to pass through that narrow zone, it has to overcome the friction. And in overcoming that friction, its pressure get dropped. Another way to reduce the pressure, we have to increase the volume. In piston cylinder arrangement, we observe that when I insert the piston and compressing gas, so volume get reduced, pressure increases. If I expand that system, that means piston is moving outward, so volume increases, pressure reduces. So without change in volume, if I want to reduce the pressure, then there is a one process that is known as a throttling process, in which we have to supply that high pressure fluid to pass through a small opening. That means we a restricted zone, or it may be a porous plug. So during passing through that restricted zone, it reduces its pressure. So throttling process involve the passage of higher pressure fluid through a narrow restricted zones, areas, sections, walls, and all these known are throttle walls. And throttling, we will come to know what happened in actual throttling process. But in this process, we observe that there is no work done. Okay, work is not there. So we can simply say that there is no work done. A throttling process in which pressure drop is realized without involving any work and heat interaction. That means here we are not supplying heat or extracting heat, just like a condenser or boiler. We are not providing or obtaining work done. So heat and work interaction across the boundary is zero. So throttling process in which a pressure drop is realized, we experience there is a drop in pressure without involving any work or heat interaction. Also experience no change in kinetic energy and potential energy. because section is horizontal, so potential change, energy change is 0, and there is no appreciable velocity difference is there, so kinetic energy change is also 0. Now there is no work done, so W will be 0. No heat interaction, so Q is 0. Assuming that potential energy is 0, so Z1 and Z2 must be equal, so we can say change in potential energy is 0. Also neglecting a kinetic energy. We are not saying kinetic energy exact same. We are saying it is there, but it is very, very less difference. So we can neglect it for simplicity. So if we are neglecting kinetic energy, so kinetic energy will be 0. Now our generalized steady flow energy equation. Here we have to apply all these conditions. So we come to know that kinetic energy gets changed. Sorry, there is no difference. So these terms will remove. Potential energy change is 0, so these terms removed. There is no heat interaction, there is no work interaction, so only these terms are there. Change in internal energy plus flow energy at intake, change internal energy at outlet plus flow energy at outlet. We can simplify into another terms, that is enthalpy. So H1 is equals to H2. And this is the only process where we say, just like constant pressure process, constant volume process, constant temperature process, same way throttling is a constant enthalpy process. Constant entropy process is adiabatic process. So throttling process is constant enthalpy process. Remember, very, very important, because in oral exam, it is always asked, okay, everyone knows that what is constant pressure process, what is constant volume, what is constant temperature process, everyone knows. And they ask, okay, tell me the name of that process where constant enthalpy is maintained, or where constant enthalpy process is called as. So everyone just stuck out. So remember, constant enthalpy process means a throttling process. And in throttling process, we actually reduce the pressure without any appreciable work done or heat interaction. So this is our final steady flow energy equation for boiler. Now we reach to 9th slide. There are total 11 slides. So second last slide. This is the last example. A reciprocating compressor. For this, please everyone listen carefully, because on the basis of this, I am going to ask some questions, and I am choose particular different category equipments only. Okay, as I choose the boiler, so I don't choose the condenser. As I choose the throttling process, so I don't choose any constant pressure process or constant volume process. Now here the another category, I choose the reciprocating compressor, where work interaction is there. We know that what happened in a reciprocating compressor. So we, at the intake, we suck air from atmosphere by supplying work with the help of electric motor or anything. So we supply work so that that air get compressed to very high pressure, high temperature. And this high pressure air we are supplying to receiver, and from receiver it is utilized for any purpose, to run the prime mover, to feel that your tire or anything. So if this dotted line is suppose a system, so in this system we are supplying work. So work is there, but we are not using any boiler or burning of fuel. So heat addition is not there. Mass flow rate is there or not? Yes. Air is inducted and compressed air is sent to receiver, and from receiver it is exhausted out or it is utilized. So mass flow rate is there. But whenever we compress any gas, we observe that along with its pressure, temperature also increases. That means if I run the compressor, after some time, I will observe that compressor body get heated. How the heat is there? So it is a property of system. When its pressure rises, so temperature will rise. So even though I am not providing a heat or even though I am not using any condenser, but there is a heat produced during compression, and that heat rejection also there. So heat rejected through this compressor fins. So Q is there, but very small amount. So might be possible some student says there is only work interaction, there is no heat interaction across the boundaries. So okay, that is also considered. Your answer will be considered for evaluation. Some students saying, no sir, when we apply a compression work, so your gas get compressed. So along with pressure, temperature also increase, and if our system temperature is increased, so there will be definitely some kind of some sort of heat will be rejected from this compressor to surrounding. So Q will be there. So you can consider that Q. But in that case, Q will be negative. Why? Because we are not supplying heat, we are rejecting heat. But this rejection is not to condenser, it is directly rejected to surrounding. So it depends on you whether you are considering Q factor or not. Now we will apply this. So the reciprocating compressor draws in air from atmospheric. So definitely at atmospheric pressure, we are taking air into this piston cylinder arrangement and supply at a considerable high pressure by expending work input. So we have to supply work. Now this is our system, and we are going to apply now steady flow energy equation to this open system, that is a reciprocating compressor. Remember in university exam also the question are same kind of there. Please, that is apply steady flow energy equation to boiler for 4 marks, or apply steady flow energy equation to reciprocating compressor 4 marks. So such kind of questions are there and very easy. So it is a scoring portion actually. So we are going to apply steady flow energy equation. Our generalized steady flow energy equation, the complete terms are there. Now we have to apply our particular reciprocating compressors input values. So whether we are considering Q potential energy, we are considering potential energy as 0. Why? Because we are assuming that intake and outtake having the same height. So change in potential energy is 0. I am not talking about a pressure energy. This P is a potential energy which is due to the height difference. So change in potential energy is 0. Next, change in kinetic energy is 0. So pressure is rises, but the speed of flow during suction and during outlet is same. That's why you can say we can neglect kinetic energy. There may be a little bit difference during suction flow velocity and outlet flow velocity, but we can neglect that change in kinetic energy because there is not so much appreciable difference at intake and outlet. So kinetic energy change is 0. We are assuming that.
Actually, pressure is rising, so kinetic energy should be increased, na?
No,
At
we are not
rejection.
talking about at the outlet. Okay, we are talking about this system only. When this system, that pressurized air is utilized for any outlet utility point, then there will be, we observe the velocity, high velocity. But right
Yes.
now in this particular system, suction velocity, so piston movement will be same from top to bottom, whatever be the piston speed is there. Accordingly, your suction will be take place. And at the same time, when piston moving upward, its speed remains same. So accordingly, piston movement, it is going to displace compressed air. So within this system, we can neglect the kinetic energy because piston displacement speed remains same. It is not going to vary. That means your piston will not move slowly during suction and fastly during compression. No, your piston movement remains same, speed of piston remains same during compression and suction. So mass, speed or velocity almost same. No doubt there is a pressure change, so there is some sort of changes in the properties, but we can neglect it. But when at the receiver point, when we open that compressed air, then we observe that when it moving out from system to surrounding, there will be a very large speed because high pressure is there. But we are talking about this dotted line within this system only. So flow rate is depend on piston speed, and piston during suction and compression remains same speed. So there is, we can say, change in kinetic energy can be neglected. So kinetic energy can be neglected. If there is a appreciable difference, then only we have to consider. Okay, for small difference we have to neglect. Then neglecting heat transfer. Now suppose one student is neglecting heat transfer, that means heat rejection. During compression, heat is generated and that heat is rejected out from the system, and some student assuming that we are not supplying any heat, we are not providing any condenser, so heat transfer is zero. So okay, that is his assumption. Now applying this all conditions, so we obtain that change in kinetic energy is neglected, so this is remove out. Change in potential energy is neglected, so these terms are removed out. There is heat rejection is neglected, so we can remove this Q term. So our final terms will be U1 flow energy at intake, U2 flow energy at outtake, minus W. Why minus W? Our generalized equation say it is plus W, but we are supplying work, we are not obtaining work from the system. If this is an IC engine, then we can say we are obtaining work. So in that case, we can say work is positive. But here we are supplying work, so our work is negative. So minus W. Now here we can simplify that enthalpies. So H1 is equals to H2 minus W. Now here I can say change in enthalpy is equals to work. Suppose I am shifting this work on second side. So if I am shifting this work on second side, so it becomes positive. So work W. And I am shifting this H1 on this side, so it becomes negative. So our final equation will be work is equals to H2 minus H1. So when I supply work, my system enthalpy is increased, so H2 is higher. At the intake, enthalpy is less, but at outlet, enthalpy is high. Why it is high? Because when I compress it, so compression work done is going to store to increase internal energy as well as flow, because pressure is going to increase as compared to intake. So at outlet, we observe that U2 is higher because internal energy is rises. Pressure is high, so flow energy at outlet is high. So we can say whatever be the work supplied to the system is utilized to rise in enthalpy. Just similar to boiler, but in boiler we supply heat and that heat is utilized to rise in enthalpy. Here we supply work and it is that work is utilized to rise in enthalpy. Now in case suppose anyone not neglecting Q, so Q will be rejected heat. So we can say H1 minus Q, heat rejection is there, is equals to H2 minus W. If we are not neglecting Q, so Q will be there, but this Q will be not positive because it is a rejection. We are not supplying heat. So in that case, this Q will remain minus Q. So in that case, our equation will be like this. You can rearrange this also. That means if I am shifting this H1 towards this side, so it becomes H2 minus H1, and work on this side, so W minus Q. So W minus Q is the net work done is utilized to rise in enthalpy. That is only the difference. And it depends on what you assume, but don't assume forcefully. Okay, don't assume. I don't know how to simplify this, so I just simply assuming potential energy, kinetic energy, heat transfer, work done, everything as zero. So my simplified equation is this. No, don't assume it by force. If there is really a negligible change, then we can assume that there is change in kinetic energy or potential energy is zero. But don't forcefully assume it. Especially pumps. If there is a pump, so at intake, velocity is different, just like a blower. Suppose air blower is there. So intake velocity is different. At outlet, there is a huge velocity, appreciable difference in velocity. So we can't neglect kinetic energy. We can neglect kinetic energy at intake because it is atmospheric air and it is sucked with a very less amount of velocity as compared to your outlet velocity. In that case, at intake you can neglect kinetic energy because it is very, very less as compared to outtake. But outlet you have to consider kinetic energy. So that time that term will be there. So thank you.